Holy day.
Happy holy.
All right. Y'all see well, for those that can see the screen, you see that Kabbalah tree of life on there. This is the sixth day, the sixth spear. We meet on this sixth day, the holy day. That is also where man is. Islam. We're gonna go ahead and open this meeting up. Peace and love, Moors. If you are able to, please rise and face the east as we do the Moorish American prayer. Okay, heels together like you are standing on the square, because you are standing on the square. All right, arms perpendicular, 2 fingers up on the right, 5 fingers up on the left, and repeat after me. Allah,
Allah.
Father of the universe,
Father of the universe.
Father of love,
Father of love.
truth,
Truth.
peace,
Peace.
freedom,
Freedom.
and justice.
And justice.
Allah is my protector,
Allah is my protector.
my guide,
My guide.
and my salvation
And my salvation.
by night and by day,
By night and by day.
through his holy prophet,
Through his holy prophet.
through Ali.
Through Ali.
Amen.
Amen.
Islamism. I want to announce that this meeting is now open. First and foremost, we always rise and give the highest praise to the Most High, the Creator of the universe, our Father God, Allah. We give honors to our divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali, for bringing us our divine creed and nationality so that we may learn to love instead of hate. We also give honors to the forerunner to the prophet, our brother Marcus Mosiah Garvey, for preparing the way for purity and love. We give honors to all the Adab sheiks and all the faithful Moors that make up the grand body of the Moorish divine and national movement. We give honors to the first appointed Supreme Grand Sheikh by our prophet, and that is our brother E. Millie Ill. We give honors to the current Supreme Grand Sheikh, our brother K. Dandridgel. Honors to the Grand Council of the Moorish Science Temple of America, and honors to all the faithful Muslims on this call. Brother Jackson Bay, would you please read the Divine Constitution and Bylaws?
Islam, praise Allah, honors to the Prophet Jalali, honors to my forefathers and foremothers, honors to the Asiatic nations and the Muslims all over the world, salvation, Allah, unity, the Moorish Science Temple of America, the Divine Constitution and Bylaws. Act 1. The Grand Sheikh and the chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America is empowered to make law and enforce law with the assistance of the Prophet and the grand body of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The assistant Grand Sheikh is to assist the Grand Sheikh in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Act 2. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest because on the Friday, the first man was formed in flesh, and on the Friday, the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. No member is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister because Allah is love. Act 4. All members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are part and partial of the government and must live the life accordingly. Act 5. This organization of the Moorish Science Temple of America is not to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and partial of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, Black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Acts 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his father God Allah. Noble Drew Ali, founder, Moorish American Prayer. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. The Moorish Science Temple of America, Home Office of Noble Drew Ali, Home Office, Chicago, Illinois, USA. Islam, Islam, Islamism. Happy Holy Day, my.
Gratitude, brother. All right, Brother Kobe, would you please read the writ to the prophet?
Islam. I rise to give honor to the great God Allah. Rise to give honor to our prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Rise to give honor to forerunner Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Rise to give honor to all Moors on the call, all Moors on the planet. Prophet warns all Muslims to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all members they must end all radical speeches while at work, in their homes and on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be a severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings towards the temple or the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their rewards from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Drew Ali, and if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out a divine plea to all Moorish Americans. They do their part in protecting the prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Peace, Noble Drew Ali. To be proclaimed at every meeting. Islam. I am glad to know I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There's a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people of our side of the nation that claimed that I was a joke and unreal. But now, since they found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that it's the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that pay their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I'm calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance, and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works, which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet, Noble Drew Ali. To the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Islam, this is instructions from your prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Be faithful to your forefather, divine and national creed, and you will be blessed for your good works, good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and this judgment is on now, but the weak can comprehend it not. The end of times are drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, I, Noble Drew Ali, and that is why many hearts are turned to stone. Many have eyes to see, but cannot see, ears to hear, but cannot hear, lest they will be confounded of their sins. These are the trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but will sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest, and the ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temples. Act accordingly, and Allah will bless you for your good work. Peace, your divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Islam, Islam, Islamism. Happy holiday, Muslims.
Islamism and gratitude, brother. All right. Just 1 minute. Okay, peace and love, Moors. We will be speaking on chapter 48 today. You may have seen this chart before. Basically, this is grouping the latter half of the Quran into subject matter. Chapters 36 through 44 dealing with knowledge of self. And you can split that up with 36 through 38 dealing with the higher self, 40 through 44 dealing with the lower self or the five folds of man. Our hidden history was revealed to us in 45, 46, and 47. And then the purpose, our purpose is revealed in 48. Islam. So we're gonna discuss that today. And of course, as usual, if anybody has any insight, any questions, anything, feel free to speak up. After we finish the chapter, if you have anything unrelated to that, we ask that you hold those questions until after we go through this chapter. So we're in chapter 48, the end of time and the fulfilling of the prophecies. Before this, just last week, we were speaking on chapter 47, Egypt, the capital empire, the dominion of Africa. In there, the prophet's given us our true history, the history that is coming from the Akashic records, history that's been hidden, literally hidden. All right. They start us off at slavery. So the prophet's starting from the ancient land of Canaan on through Egypt to present day America, letting it be known that we've been denationalized, and then also in chapter 47, given the purpose of the prophet and the Moorish Temple of America. Excuse me. All right, so the prophet established who our forefathers were, right there, the builders of civilization. We're directly connected to the Creator. This is our divine lineage. And this also lets us know why we don't read about the acts of the past acts of the Negroes or the Black or the colored people. Like these, now our people, meaning so-called African Americans, our scholars, we write ourselves into history because we know that our people took part in the building of civilization such as ancient Egypt. But these people did not necessarily call themselves Black. So there's no history of Negroes in ancient times, right? Negroes came into existence in 1774 when their nationality was taken away. The Negro regained their nationality by joining the Moorish Temple of America, which was founded by the prophet, right? And the prophet's forerunner was the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, who taught race pride and self-reliance. The prophet came to perfect this. He also extended the teachings to nationality and divine creed, right? And to make us aware of who we are, that we are part and partial of this said government, and for us to organize around our own identity, our own worldview, our own moral and spiritual principles. It's not good enough to go off of what Western civilization is based off of. This is crumbling. We see it. It's coming down around us, right? To have our own political and economic goals. So regardless of what the state of Ohio is doing or the country or anyone else, regardless of what's going on around us, we have to have our own goal, our own strategy. And so we can galvanize around our common nationality and we can accomplish our goals. And by doing this, by proclaiming our nationality and practicing our divine creed, that ensures our earthly and our divine salvation. Okay, and let's go ahead and read chapter 48, the end time and the fulfilling of the prophecies. The last prophet in these days is noble Drew Ali, who was prepared divinely in due time by Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways and to warn them of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. John the Baptist was the forerunner of Jesus in those days, to warn and stir up the nation and prepare them to receive the divine creed, which was to be taught by Jesus. Right, and this is what the brother Marcus Mosiah Garvey was doing. In these modern days, there came a forerunner of Jesus who was divinely prepared by the great God Allah, and his name is Marcus Garvey. And Marcus Garvey actually was mentored by another brother, a Sudanese brother, whose name actually escapes me right now. I don't know why I can't remember the brother's name. Yeah, I don't know why I can't remember the brother's name. Anybody else know who I'm talking about? But Marcus Mosiah Garvey's mentor was a Sudanese brother who's also
Islam. Was it Deuce Muhammad?
Gaddafi. Sorry.
Oh, Islam. The sister Douglas Hill said Deuce Ali. It was Deuce Ali. Is that what you were saying, brother Jackson Bay? Maybe Deuce Muhammad Ali, but his name was Deuce Ali.
Yeah, D-U-S-E. I'm just off the head with it right now.
Okay, so yeah, brother Deuce Ali, who maybe I could just pull up a picture. But that brother, also who was photographed wearing the fez. He wrote a book. I think his picture on his book, he's wearing his fez. And this brother was Marcus Mosiah Garvey's, his mentor, right? So when the prophet is setting the stage, he's letting us know what's going on. These aren't just words. He was divinely prepared. He was getting insight. He was being mentored. He was being prepared for this position, right? This is Deuce Ali, okay? And so he's getting ready for his job. As you can read on here, the short description, he was a Sudanese Egyptian actor and political activist who became known for his African nationalism, right? So first came Marcus Mosiah Garvey, all right? And then came the prophet. And Garvey got the people riled up and ready, thinking on that wavelength, right? That vibration of nationality, thinking about that. And he impacted a lot of people. They say that his organization, the UNIA, had over 1 million members, had a standing army. Malcolm X, everybody's heard of Malcolm X. Malcolm X, his mother was from St. Kitts in the Caribbean. She moved to Canada and met Malcolm X's father. They both were followers of Marcus Garvey. They wound up moving to Michigan and starting a family, right? So they were big in the Garvey movement. A lot of people were, right? He impacted a lot of people. And so as Marcus Mosiah Garvey, he wound up getting caught up in some mail fraud type scheme just to get him out of here, right? He was set up just to get him out. And as his organization started to go down, a lot of his followers wound up coming into the Moorish Science Temple of America. So the prophet completed what Marcus Mosiah Garvey started. Okay, so going back in here, verse 3. In these days, modern days, there came a forerunner of Jesus who was divinely prepared by the great God Allah, and his name is Marcus Garvey, who did teach and warn the nations of the earth to prepare to meet the coming prophet, who was to bring the true and divine creed of Islam. And his name is Noble Drew Ali, who was prepared and sent to this earth by Allah to teach the old time religion and the everlasting gospel to the sons of men, that every nation shall and must worship under their own vine and fig tree and return to their own and be one with their Father God Allah. All right, so he came to set things back straight. Okay, and verse 4, the Moorish Science Temple of America is a lawfully chartered and incorporated organization. Any subordinate temple that desires to receive a charter, the Prophet has them to issue to every state throughout the United States, etc. This is also letting it be known that our power derives from Allah, right? Not from the state. So any temple that desires to receive a charter, we get it from what? The Prophet, from the Moorish Science Temple of America, to issue throughout every state, right? We don't have to go to anyone else to get permission to propagate the faith, to do what we need to do, right? Part of our mission, uplifting fallen humanity. That comprises all of the economic and all of the other things that we need to do. The Moorish Divine and National Movement, the divine plan of the ages, right? So we don't get our permission from anyone else. I see somebody has their hand raised. Islam.
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 Islam. This is Brother Scott Bay. I wanted to ask a question.
All right, Islam, you have the floor.
Islam, thank you. Thank you, Sheikh. Question I wanted to ask was, does that mean, well, more or less about this, let me see, how can I put these in words? How can I say these properly? How is that passed out, or is it sanctioned? That's the word I want to say. How do we pass out different charters to different towns or different cities in each state? I always wanted to know that. The reason why I asked the question is I always see different Moorish entities, and the one time I asked the question of how is these entities incorporated? So the next question I have is, how is each temple in each state or in each city granted the charters? Can you give me that process? Peace.
Okay, Islam. So any group of Moors that come together, they congregate together, technically that's a temple. All right, then especially if there's enough of you to fill the positions of officers, and you would communicate with the Moorish Science Temple of America home office and express your desire to receive a charter if that's what you desire to do. Now, the charter is issued from the Moorish Science Temple of America, and as far as doing business in your state, that's all you need. You don't have to, like, for example, you don't have to file for a nonprofit corporation to be recognized as a spiritual, religious, legal entity. You don't have to do that. The charter is good enough. You can get everything that you need off of that, like as far as like tax ID number and things of that nature, so that you can receive donations and things like that, because you do need to have your paperwork in order so that you can actually do business. Actually, all you need is you can work off of the charter and off of the our authority. the filing in Cook County, and you just attach your paperwork for your temple to that filing, and that's good enough for you to get anything else that you need, like in your state, in your community, right? So yeah, a lot of people don't understand that. So you don't have to have like a nonprofit organization or something like that to get, you know, whatever other whatever other items you need, like the tax ID number and things like of that nature, right? So but the way things are set up, there's a chain of command. So um, if in your state there's a grand governor, you would need to communicate with the grand governor, let them know that you desire to establish a temple where you're at, and things will go through your grand governor in your state, right? Yeah, so that's supposed to be the grand governor's duty to open temples in their state. Islam. Did that answer your question?
Islam. Yes, see, but it made me think of another question that's on top of that. So let's say, for example, um,
I'm in.
if I'm starting a trucking company and I'm a member of the Moorish Science Temple of America, would it be of best interest for the temple and for the business to have the business incorporated in the Moorish Science Temple of America? And if so, what would be the process of that? Islam.
Yeah, Islam, I would say at this point in time, no, just being realistic. That's the ideal, but we're not there yet. Now, ideally, if everything was perfect and everybody was doing what they were supposed to, yeah, you would open it up under the temple. Possibly even the business wouldn't be subject to taxes because we're supposed to have a certain square like um, acreage area where each temple is tax free. So whatever businesses we establish under that should be under that umbrella. Because from our purposes, those are for the uplifting of fallen humanity. Is we have a charge to be to start businesses, and so yeah, that's the idea, but we're not there yet. My advice would be just to open up your business and do your thing, and possibly in the future maybe that'll be an option, but like right now, I wouldn't. Mm-mm. Nope. Just have to keep it real, bro. Islam.
Islam, I appreciate the truth. The truth and the love is always it's our principle, so I appreciate that. Islam.
Islam. All right. Okay. The Moorish Science Temple of America is a lawfully chartered and incorporated organization. Any subordinate temple that desires to receive a charter, the Prophet has them to issue to every state throughout the United States, etc. The world may hear that, that the world may hear and know the truth, that among the descendants of Africa, there is still much wisdom to be learned in these days for the redemption of the sons of men under love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. We as a clean and pure nation descended from the inhabitants of Africa do not desire to amalgamate or marry into the nations of the pale skin marry into the families of the pale skinned nations of Europe, neither serve the gods of their religion, because our forefathers are the true and divine founders of the first religious creed for the redemption and salvation of mankind on earth. Therefore, we are returning the church and Christianity back to the European nations as it was prepared by their forefathers for their earthly salvation, while we, the Moorish Americans, are returning to Islam, which was founded by our forefathers for our earthly and divine salvation. The covenant of the great God Allah Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be longer upon the earth land, which the Lord thy God, Allah, hath given thee. Come on, come all ye Asiatics of America, and hear the truth about your nationality and birthrights, because you are not Negroes. Learn of your forefathers' ancient and divine creed, that you will learn to love instead of hate. We are trying to uplift fallen humanity. Come and link yourselves with the families of nations. We honor all true and divine prophets. Islamism. Now, just reading over this, when the prophet is giving us our purpose, it's first starting out with how the prophet comes into play, the rise of the prophet and the forerunner, right, from amongst our people here in the Americas. So it's giving us the beginning, how the prophecies beginning to be fulfilled, right? There's a prophecy also, and also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with great substance, right? So the chapter is introducing the Moorish Science Temple of America, which was founded by the prophet for the purpose of fulfilling this prophecy, right? The ultimate fulfillment of the prophecy is the redemption of man from their sinful and fallen stage of humanity and back to the highest plane of life by returning to our true divine creed. And is given the specific aims and objectives to go about that process. Uplifting fallen humanity always starts with us. First and foremost, we're returning the church and Christianity back to the European nations. Didn't work out for us. We're honoring the covenant of our that we have with our great God Allah, right? So, excuse me. Right, so this is being laid out how we fall into our covenant. When you look at a covenant is a solemn binding agreement. So we have a binding agreement with the creator of the universe, with Allah, right? So it's binding. So when we come back into our covenant, our success is guaranteed. So not to oversimplify what the prophet did, but it's actually, it's not that strenuous. It's not that difficult. Our success is guaranteed. Our way out of the conditions that we find ourselves in is actually not that difficult, right? All we have to do is come into who we truly are. Step outside of what's been given to us, packaged for us. I just saw, not trying to knock this organization, I just saw some organization like some Central Ohio Black Revolutionaries or something. They had like the Black Fist, and they're all talking about doing things for Black and brown people. And hey, I get where you're coming from. Like, I'm definitely not trying to come in there and preach to them because they're not trying to hear this. But at the same time, right? We can't get anywhere. We can't get anywhere with that. We've tried it. We tried it for a long time and it's not working. It's not working, right? So the prophet came to wipe the mud out of our eyes and to show us the clear path, right? And it's actually not as difficult as we thought it was. Okay, and one of the things that we do not wish to amalgamate with the Europeans, right? We do not desire to amalgamate or marry into the families of the pale-skinned nations of Europe, neither serve the gods of their religions, because our forefathers are the true and divine founders of the first religious creed, right? So amalgamate is to become fully absorbed into the cultural traditions and customs of a people. And that's one of the big things. That's where we're at right now. We do not desire to amalgamate or marry into the families of the pale-skinned nations of Europe. So by doing either of those things, you're culturally obliterated, right? We bought in. We went all the way in. Islam, as the sister William Zell said, the sunken place, right? We bought all the way in. And that's why we're in the situation that we're in now. Right? So there's no way to salvation, but we're still holding on to these things that have nothing to do with us, that are only going to lead to our downfall. We have to let it go. You always hear people saying Exodus, right? All the Rastas, they got the songs about Exodus. Exodus, you have to Exodus from Babylon. The main thing is your mental state, right? Mentally, how you think, your thought process, how you act. You have to make that Exodus. And this is the way out. Okay? So, yes, we're here to teach Islamism, to uplift fallen humanity, to teach those things necessary to make our members better citizens, and then to tell the world, let the world know that there's still much wisdom to be learned from the descendants of Africa. We are linking ourselves back into the family of nations. Okay, and since we're speaking on also on the covenant, in key 42 from the Quran questionnaire is, what is the covenant of the great God Allah? All right. So our success is guaranteed. Remember, we said that a covenant is a solemn binding agreement, right? And chapter 48 is giving us the fulfilling of the prophecies by honoring the covenant, right? In verse 7, returning church and Christianity back to the European nations. Returning the church and Christianity back to the European nations, while we are returning to Islam, founded for our earthly and divine salvation. Right? So this is a part of it. This is how you come into the covenant. We're returning to Islam. Right? It's now evident. That's obvious that Allah is our creator. Islam is known, it's recognized worldwide. And you have to have a creed. And our creed is divine. Right? So when you return to your divine creed and you're a Moorish Muslim, you're no longer, you're not under the yoke, right, that was created for our abuse. Specifically created for our abuse. And as long as we shun Islam, right, as long as we're scared of that, clinging to the labels that allude to slavery, the so-called white man is God. And they're our custodian. He's the one that created you, created the Negro. He civilized you. He taught you his religion as he saw fit, right? He gave you what little bits and pieces he wanted you to have. He is over the programs that are being taught in the churches. Even in I see this sister's hand up. Even I'm not trying to say anything bad about Christianity, but the way that it's being taught in most churches, they're putting Jesus up on a pedestal, right? Like he's up there, he's the Son of God. But Jesus says throughout the scripture that you are all sons of God. The same thing that's in this Holy Quran. He's actually letting you know how to connect to God within, but they don't teach that. They skip over that, right? So we're getting a watered down version of it. And it was given to you by the European, which means that you fall up under the doctrine of discovery. Okay? So this is powerful. The prophet pulled us up out of this. You see this up on the screen. These are one of the papal bulls, the doctrine of discovery, 1493, that date, year after Columbus sailed the ocean blue, right? Which was a year after Granada fell, the last Moorish stronghold. Okay, so they declared us savages. And we, there's no way around that. We can't play around with that. We have to come up out of this. The prophets fulfilling the prophecies, bringing us into our divine covenant. And so that's why we're holding to this. That's why we're here gathered on a holy day. We understand the importance of it, or we're learning the importance of it and how to move as a collective. We can't leave that out. For the most part, the European made himself God. That's why they always show us as slaves. on film, right? They're not trying to empower us. And as Negroes, as Black people, that's where we start. It's slavery, whether we like it or not. Islam, I yield the floor to Sister Douglas L.
Islam, praise Allah, honest to his prophet Noble Drew Ali, honest to all you Moors in attendance. I just want to add, since this is the last chapter, for everyone to really read and understand this chapter, because the first and the last chapter of our Holy Quran and the Moorish Science Temple of America is put together so divinely that it explains everything in totality. It shows us why the prophet did what he did, why he did it in the way that he did it, what he brought to us, and also letting us know exactly what happened to our people and why we're in this situation. And the science is heavy. Okay, so just in the first two keys, we can go, the first two verses in this last chapter, we can go to key 42, and it fully explains what our sins were, because growing up in Christianity, we're told we were born in sin, and that is a lie. We're born with the seed of perfect development inside of us. We have a lot inside of us. We just have to know who we are and act accordingly. But this here tells us that the only sin of man is following behind a God that isn't theirs. And by honoring our forefathers and foremothers, like in key 42, we would get back to who we truly are in our divine nature, Islam. So this is very important for us to understand and fully understand who we are as Moorish American Muslims and who our prophet, Noble Drew Ali, peace be upon him, is, because he did something remarkable that has never been done before. And if we follow his blueprint, all the steps, all the rules, all the laws, all the literature that he put on the table for us, we will win the game. Islam.
Islam, thank you for putting that so eloquently. Um, so this is how we come into our covenant. If we go to Genesis chapter 15, verse 13 through 14, it says, "And he said unto Abraham, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterwards they come out with great substance." Islam. And of course, this is what we're going through right now. In Exodus chapter 3, verses 7 through 10, says, "And the Lord said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people which are in Egypt, and I have heard their cry by reason of their taskmasters, for I know their sorrows. And I am come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians, and to bring them up out of that land unto a good land and a large, unto a land flowing with milk and honey, unto the place of the Canaanites and the Hittites and the Amorites and the Perizzites and Havites and Jebusites. Therefore now, behold, the cry of the children of Israel is come unto me, and I have also seen the oppression wherewith the Egyptians oppress them. Come now, therefore, and I will send unto thee unto Pharaoh, that thou mayest bring my people forth, my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt." Islam. Also, if you want to go to Deuteronomy chapter 18, verses 15 through 18, and also Micah chapter 4, verses 1 through 5, speaking on the same thing, right? We're coming into the covenant, and these are the fulfilling of the prophecies. All right. And all we have to do is come into our own. It's almost that simple. We just have to come into our own, step out of the labels that have been placed on us, And it doesn't matter if it's not all of us in our city. In Columbus is home to a population of 2.8 million people. 320,000 Black or African American. So 15.4% of the population. It says Black or African American alone, not mixed. You have people that say 2 or more races, 58,000. So who knows how many? But there's over 320,000 of us. Might be closer to 400,000 because you got almost 60,000 claiming to be 2 or more races, another 4,000 claiming to be several races mixed. So there's a lot of us, but we don't even need everybody doesn't have to get on board. It's okay, right? Just those of us who are aware, who are concerned, who care, all we have to do is come together and move as a unit. And we are recognized. All right, and it's that simple. And then once others see, maybe they'll start to come on board too. All right, but it's that simple, right? And so it doesn't matter what's going on around us, right? The Europeans failing us, it doesn't matter. We're not subject to that once we step into our divine covenant. So it doesn't matter what they're putting in the vaccines, what they're trying to do. That stuff doesn't apply to us. Why? Because we're returning the church and Christianity back to the European nations. We don't have faith in you. We, the Moorish Americans, are returning to Islam, which was founded by our forefathers for our earthly and divine salvation. This is why we need to understand our religion, our culture, because we have our own reasons from our perspective why we don't take part in the things that they're doing, right? We want nothing to do with the chemtrails and all these other things that they're doing. We need our own. And that's truly, this is our only salvation, to come into our own. We have to make the exodus. Everybody has to, all right, to escape the destruction which is sure to come. And it's already here. Islam. If anybody else has any insight or any questions, feel free to speak up. I yield the floor on that. Islam. All right. All right, Islam. One thing I do want to share, though, before we close out, just want to read what is Islam from our Moorish literature, since the sister did bring that up. As Muslims, we are now born in sin. This is why we are returning the church and Christianity back to the Europeans. We are returning to ours. That's don't have it in front of me, but should be on like page 15 or something like that in your book, if you're looking in that white book. All right, what is Islam? Islam is a very simple faith. It requires man to recognize his duties toward God, Allah, his creator, and his fellow creatures. It teaches the supreme duty of living at peace with one's surroundings. It is preeminently the religion of peace. The very name Islam means peace. The goal of man's life, according to Islam, is peace with everything, peace with Allah, and peace with man. The Quran, the holy book of Islam, teaches us that the final abode of man is the house of peace, where no vain word or sinful discourse will be heard. The holy divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali, says that a follower of Islam, in the true sense of the word, is one whose hands, tongue, and thoughts do not hurt others. That's something that we can all work on, right? Object of man's life, according to Islam, is his complete unfoldment. Islam teaches that man is born with unlimited capacities for progress. And I'm sure you can find that in the Bible as well, even though they're not teaching it. That's why we returning Christianity back. We don't want the European version of Christianity. It's for their earthly salvation. It does nothing for us. Islam does not support the idea that man was born in sin. It teaches that everyone has within him the seed of perfect development. Islam. I see the brother Jackson Bay. Islam.
Islam. I want to hear this. I want to hear this, but I got a question. It wasn't related to the chapter, but I've been thinking about this, and but I want you to finish reading what is Islam. You feel me? And then I ask.
All right, Islam. So yeah, you can probably find this in the Bible too. Teaching that man's born with unlimited capacity for progress, but that's not what they teach though. Just like they don't teach, even though it's in the Bible several times and not taken out of context, where Jesus is saying that you are all sons of God. Okay. But they don't teach that. So Islam does not support the idea that man was born in sin. It teaches that everyone has within him the seed of perfect development, and it rests solely with himself to make or mar his fortune. The cardinal doctrine of Islam is the unity of the Father Allah. We believe in one God, Allah, who is all God, all mercy, and all power. He is perfect and holy, all wisdom, all knowledge, and all truth. These are some of his great attributes so far as we can understand. He is free from all defects, holy and transcendent. He is personal to us insofar as we see his attributes working for us and in us, but he is nevertheless impersonal. Because he is infinite, perfect, and holy, we do not believe that death, decay, or sleep overtake him. Neither do we believe that he is a helplessly inactive and inert force. Nothing happens without his knowledge and will, and he neither begets nor he is begotten, because these are the trails of frail and weak humanity. The unity of Allah is the first and foremost pillar of Islam, and every other belief hangs upon it. Islam, Islam, Islamism. All right, I yield the floor, Brother Jackson Bay.
Islam. Now I know how to tie it in because you just read what is Islam. Because like since we're returning to Islam, the old time religion, the true and divine faith, right? The true divine creed of our forefathers. How do we look at the devil? Because when you open up the Koran and you go in the mosque, the devil the same, right? You feel what I'm saying? So like, we don't play the scapegoat, but like, can you go over the 5 defects, the Lucifer, like just to so we could have a better understanding, like what differs us from Islam, why this is Islamism, right, instead of Islam. Peace.
All right, Islamism. So you're talking about going over the 5 personalities of the lower self?
Islam, because I've been thinking about like, can we the 5 folds of man, right, and then the 5 descendant natures of man, right? How do they link up, like correspond with each other? That was a deep question. You feel like, because I've been looking at it like, man, the 5 descendant natures: Lucifer, Satan, devil, beast, right, and then the 5 folds of man: instability, insufficiency, and so on. So I was trying to go over them and see the perspective and see if they link. How would you link it, or what I mean? Because I've been thinking about that. Islam.
Islam. All right, Islam. So for those that don't know, like the question 64 in our Quran questionnaire is given the names of the lower self. Give the 5 names that are given to the descendants of Adam and Eve: Lucifer, Satan, devil, dragon, and beast. And if we're looking at that for spiritual insight, we know that these names, nothing's just mentioned for no reason. The names are given for a reason. If we're looking at a deeper meaning, we realize that we're given descriptions for the different ways that the lower self comes to us. These are descriptions or characteristics of the lower self. So if we recognize these characteristics, when we have these thoughts in our head, we know where they're emanating from. It's not coming from the higher self. So if you know that, for example, because you have to be aware of your enemy to know that it exists, right? So if you know that Lucifer represents the intellectual mind without the illumination of the spiritual mind, You know that Lucifer is the false light. So maybe when you're puffed up on your intellect, trying to prove yourself, people online maybe trying to prove your point to somebody or whatever, something that we can all get caught up in. You recognize that's Lucifer. And if you're a true Muslim, you know that you need to check yourself, because we have the invisible tools of the workshop of the mind to make sure that our thoughts, actions, and deeds are within the bounds of righteousness. So when that thought's coming up, you know that, okay, Lucifer represents the intellectual mind. That's Lucifer. That's not the higher self. Okay. Another way of looking at this too, let me get this visual up here. So hold up. All right, so here's another way of looking at this too, like this image, right, where you see the battle of Heru and Set. It's within everyone. So Heru and Set aren't necessarily people or gods that actually existed. Not saying that they didn't, just saying it doesn't matter. You want to get the insight from it, who cares? You're getting the spiritual meaning, because that applies to every single one of us, whether you're a child, whether you're older, doesn't matter. So Heru and Set are within you. They're within all of us. And that's why they're right there. They're both on the sides, the same sides of the Pharaoh. Okay. And so you now know how to recognize the lower self, just like in this. You now have the tools, like in this picture. You now have tools to deal with it, to subdue it. So Lucifer is the intellect. Satan is the adversary, is the deceiver. It's deceiver. It's trying to get people to be disobedient to Allah's will. The devil is the accuser. The devil's the slanderer. Right? So when these thoughts are coming through, when we're moving like that, we know that we're not moving in the higher self. So now we can actually start to resemble true Moors, true nobles, because we recognize these characteristics that are coming from the lower self, and we can subdue them, right? The dragon represents greed, passion, lust, ignorance, perversion, and that which is earthbound. Greed, passion, lust, ignorance, perversion. So yeah, when you're seeing these types of things, you know where it's coming from. That's the dragon. And then it's easier to recognize these traits if you're putting a visual with it. Like you're seeing a dragon, you're seeing a beast, whatever a beast looks like to you. The beast represents the craving for gross materialism. So when these thoughts come through, they're cunning, it's appealing, it's agreeable. The lower self just getting more of these earthly things, getting more sensations. But when we follow through on these things, it leads to misery. It makes our life more miserable. If you're caught up in passion, lust, and perversion, that's going to mess your life up, right? There's so many ways that could go sideways. So it's appealing when it comes through. When you're having the thoughts and when you're acting on it, right? It feels good. It appeals. It's appealing. So it doesn't seem like it's bad. It doesn't seem like it's the devil. All right. So if you put that visual with it, though, with those thoughts, you're seeing a dragon when these thoughts come through. That helps you to recognize and to be able to subdue these types of thoughts. And if you're able to subdue these thoughts, then you are able to master your lower self. And then you will find out you're not having all these problems in life. It's always our own doing. We are the cause of our own downfall. I can't blame it on the man and still claim to be a Moorish American Muslim, a noble. I can't blame it on anyone if I'm not where I want to be at, and if I'm suffering and struggling. It's my fault. I am I'm not in control. I'm not even trying to subdue my lower self, and that's why I'm suffering. So that's why it's important to know these personalities, to know these how the lower self comes at us. You know its methods. And if you know the methods and you desire to bring out Allah in you, then you know how to subdue the beast. Islam, I see a hand raised, two hands raised. Sister Douglas, and then Brother Jackson Bay.
Islam, it was a beautiful demonstration. That was an awesome question. Well, that you put on the table, Brother Jackson Bay. I just wanted to add that a lot of people get mixed up in the words that we use today, for lack of better words. We say we practice Islamism, the old time religion. The reason why the Prophet made sure he let us know that it's the old time religion and not what's being practiced today in the East, because a lot of that practice is part of their culture and their traditions based on the regions where they're living. And that should not be put on us over here on our lands, because we don't live in a desert. Okay, we don't have to do the things that they do naturally, to adapt and to live in the terrain and the regions where they live at. So we always have to keep that in mind, because our customs, our traditions, our beliefs align with the old time religion. And it's because we practice peace with ourselves. That's the science of know ourselves. We have two selves, right? We practice peace with ourselves and our surroundings as we submit to the will of Allah. Islam.
Islam, definitely. I definitely agree with you because we don't want to get our culture mixed up, and you could definitely see that. You know what I mean? Especially the way we perceive now. Um, I just to add, like as far as what she was talking about, what you were saying, like, can you link those five personalities up to because the way I link them personalities up, right? I'm looking at it from a higher perspective as far as, like, if you go back to 64, right? It says who's the descendants of Adam and Eve, right? And I'm like, and then it go give you five defects. And so I'm looking at it from the perspective, this is what I've been pondering on, like, is Adam and Eve the cardinal mind, right? The cardinal mind, and the Lucifer, devil, beast, right? The descendants, right? That's the shadow of the lowest chakras, starting with man down to the protoplasm. That's how I was linking it and stuff like that. But that's how I was looking at it. But I was looking at the five folds of man. So could we align those defects to the five folds of man? Like, you feel what I'm saying? Does, like, each defect got a corresponding chapter? You feel what I'm saying? Because it's all about conquering the lower self. And, like, I've been thinking about it in my meditations, like, man, all these different personality defects or descendant natures that come up during meditation or just in life, right? And how can we vanquish them? Like, you know what I mean? Like, really, or when they come up, know how to at least moderate them. Islam.
Islam. That's why we have the workshop, the tools from the workshop of the mind. We use those tools to do exactly what you said, brother. I want to hear you demonstrate that.
Islam. We all students. You feel what I'm saying? And when I ain't even realized when she came through with the look, I'm like, oh, I ain't even look at it like that. And then I've been meditating, like, boom, we need to align those. I'm like, it just lined up. And then, like, this just came to me like a couple weeks ago, as far as lining up the chakras, right? With that, and, like, and then it's like I'll be reading into things, and it's like it said Muhammad cut the head off the great Satan. But if we align the chakras, it says that the cherubim and angel never fell. They held their position. You feel me? So cutting the head off the great Satan, basically cutting off your lowest chakra, like, it just all came to me. So I'm like, man, let me just start baby steps You know what I mean? So like Islam. Let me open the floor. I want somebody to build on that. And I see somebody else.
Peace. Um, I say something to that question. Not necessarily matching them, but I've been going over the Kabbalion and I'm doing a video breakdown. And one of the things, or some of the things that was going on in there, you know, we say we're supposed to apply the laws to ourselves, and that one, nothing exists outside the mind of the all. So everything operates on these basic universal laws. It's also, it says, you know, death is a new beginning, and something that we accept as well already. Which principle? It was something that said that had me sit. What your question was like had me think about exactly this line. Now I can't think of what that line was. Can you say your question one more time for me, please?
Is who me? My
Yes.
question. Okay, my question is we got the 5 descendant natures, right? Because I like Sister Douglas L said, we got our own culture, right? And right when I've been talking and having conversations and I when I come through with the knowledge, just a little bit I know, everybody like, man, that lines up exactly whether they coming from the Native American perspective or Buddhist perspective. It all lines up, right? But we got to stay true to us because you feel what I'm saying? We got our own system, right? Like you see the Muslims, they got their own calendar. The Chinese, they got their own calendar. We need to be on our own customs, culture. So when I'm looking at the chakra system, I lined up from chapter 11 when the triune Allah blew forth, right? He stood 7 creative spirits. We call them Elohim, and then 7 others were, and every other had its form, right? That chapter, I think is that chapter 11, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I lined up the chakras, boom, protoplasm, root, all the way up to the crown would be cherubim, right? So I'm thinking, I'm pondering, like, okay, when she came through with the 5 descendant natures and bringing out the defects so we can identify them within ourselves, right? And then you got the 5 folds of man. My head started twitching. I was like, oh, okay, boom. So we need to line these chapters up so we could further subdue. Because and then when you look up the it says when you further into chapter 11, it's like the 5 that fell, man fell with everything from man down to root, right? But the angel and the cherubim remained, right? And then you got the little bit that the prophet spoke on Muhammad, right? He reincarnated through Muhammad the Conqueror and cut the head off the great Satan. Well, we understand I was like, damn, well, it's 5 descendant natures, then 5 people fell. You know, five ethereal planes fell. So let's just add. That's why I'm like, okay, each. You feel me? So my question was, my bad. I had all that rhetoric, right? My question was, which descendant nature lines up with which 5-fold demand? Islam.
Okay, I got it. So yeah, I'm not necessarily gonna answer that question, right? But somebody has said, how do we like overcome it, right? And then that's what made me come to the Kabbalion. So one of the 7 principles or 7 laws is polarity, and it says, you know, it's and then also is gender. So it's masculine, feminine. Masculine is positive, considered positive. Feminine is considered negative. So anytime we have so say we're one of the 5 lower, we're being one of the 5 lower natures, there's a positive to that as well. You know, so we have we also have like the virtues. You know, the higher self is the mother of virtues. So what you do is you and also, so since the universe is mental, you know, your mind is the strongest force. So you're gonna polarize yourself to the positive spectrum of those aspects. So it's not necessarily I wouldn't say necessarily say is what chapters matches to which characteristic, as opposed to which aspect of the higher self is the opposite of that lower nature. And then when you polarize yourself to that higher nature, you're going to as it says, kill out the negative. And as you become a master and learn how to do this more easily, it becomes even easier for you to do it with practice. And it also goes in saying that the will is stronger than any manifestation, like physical manifestation of rhythm. And that just means that with rhythm, that as the example is the pendulum swing to the left is the pendulum swing to the right. You know, the universe compensates. Like everything compensates. It has to balance. So yeah, you can go from there. That's where I wanted to go from that.
Nah, I feel you.
Go ahead.
I just want to, because when you brought that up, right? I'm like, I bet. So I'm like, what you made me think, right? The original, the polarity, right, is that within the plane of man, right? The lower self within the plane of man, which will line up with the throat chakra, right? And each chakra has 7 planes, but just to, not to get too deep, right? You feel me? The man, the higher self of the throat chakra, right, is man, where the lower self is Lucifer. You feel me? Then we go down to the heart, which is the true plane of the beast, right? You feel me? Right? But like you feel me? Like Lucifer, man, Satan, beast. You feel me? Etheric plane of the beast. Devil, plant. Dragon, sacral. Beast, root. You feel what I'm saying? And the reason, yeah, that's what made you, that's what made me, that's what made me think when you said polarity, like, and that's how I look at it, like, because when we go back to chapter 11, it says man will regain his plane, you feel me? So we talking about the soul plane, you feel me? Because the chakras, they constitute the soul, you feel me? Not saying that your soul, you got 7 souls, you got 749 levels, but 7 different aspects of yourself, you feel me? Within the mind, you feel me? Or the soul, you feel me? The psyche, you feel me? But yeah, bro, I'm glad you brought that, because that's how I was looking at the duality and stuff like that. And then as far as like with the once we start doing those things, and like it's we can't talk about it all in one night, right? Because then we got to bring out the step ladders, both of them. You feel what I'm saying? So, and how we can apply those, and then within those, you gotta, how we gonna apply the square, how we really gonna apply this compass, you feel me? As far as like meditation, like, look, I've been thinking about practices and just little, like, just little exercises that is distinctly Moorish American Muslim. So this is why I'm thinking about it, because then we could be like, oh, instead of, because the new wave, right, is the whole, oh, the chakras and this color thing, and all you doing is saying somebody else coach it on the low, right? When we been had this since 1930, we had this since 1886. Prophet knew who he was gonna send to us. You feel what I'm saying? So like, we had this knowledge, prepared for us since then. It's like we gotta like just show, because then we start being like the Jews of Jesus' time. You feel me? Not knocking any Jew of this time, but like the Jews of the Jesus time that he came to save was superstitious people taking other people's customs. And that's the reason why Jesus was a scapegoat that year for their sins. You feel me? And it gets deep. You feel what I'm saying? But that I'm glad you brought that up. I'm gonna yield the floor because I'm
Islam.
Peace. I also want to share something else though, if I can.
Islam.
If anybody is a member or is thinking about becoming a member, it is extremely important that you come to. Well, we're not going to be having them as regularly, but the Thursday, the Thursday build, because you get a far better grasp of what's going on, what you signed up for. Um, a a simpler a simple way to get this information. A couple of days ago, I was talking with a brother, and he's a Muslim. I didn't ask what sect or if it's the nation or whatnot, but he still considers himself to be black. And he's talking to me about like the different the other cultures that come over into the area and how they eventually become Americanized in like within like a 5-year span. But he noticed my turban, of course, and he had asked me if I was Muslim, and I told him that I'm Moorish American. And he's like, "Oh, more, okay." Then he asked me about like why did I start studying, like why did I choose more science as opposed to like just Islam? And then he somewhat asked some questions, but he also kind of threw some jabs as well. He was like, saying like it's cool. It was cool up until the point the prophet started calling himself a prophet, and he's not a prophet. Now the prophet told us, like anybody who tries to downplay the prophet is an enemy. I didn't necessarily treat him as such and just like get irate and try to, like browbeat him or anything like that. We had a conversation, and I started to explain like how we still accept the 5 pillars and the differences in what a prophet is, the two types of prophets, the prophethood. And then he quickly like kind of switched the subject to like how a Muslim from the East came, and he was asking about marrying a Christian woman. And like he didn't really want to get too deep into one part, but I was ready to go there at the same time. But the point though is like really come to these meetings so you can get this information. So when you are out and you're demonstrating, you have your turban or fez, or even if you're not, and you just having a conversation, you can stand on what's going on when somebody tries to question your customs, because like the sister said, we have our own culture. That was what separated us from the rest of the empire. That's why we can move like this. This is why we can have Islamism the way that we have it, because we already had our own separate culture that was distinct from them in the East. We can show where we're the same as far as Islam. We still agree on that, but don't let anybody try to downplay what you're doing and be able to stand on what you're doing. Other than if you don't know what you're doing, you can't stand on what you're doing and why you're doing it, you don't need to do it. That's to me, that's sinful there. Even if you're trying to do the right thing, you just doing it. You don't know what you're doing it for. It's ignorant. Like, I don't know. Islam, I yield the floor.
Islam. Man, I don't know if I'm in Lucifer or what, but I would have hit him with those 3 Quran those Quran verses.
Islam.
I would have just said, here, read this and weep. About the
That's
prophet.
Jesus right there.
I was thinking the same thing, Sheik. If he knew his own Quran, he would know those 3 verses.
Yeah. Well, we know that people don't, for the most part. They just get what's handpicked and taught to them. And that goes across the board. Islam. So you did the correct thing. Islam, brothers. Thank you for sharing, building. Back to where Brother Jackson Bay was asking. I don't have the answer. I was trying to throw something together on the spot, but what really needs to be done, you need to write a book about that, brother. Just reading from this chapter, verse 4, the prophet said, hang on, verse 5, that the world may hear and know the truth that among the descendants of Africa there is still much wisdom to be learned in these days for the redemption of the sons of men under love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. So we need to make books, right? We need to write books and definitely make that connection. You can break down the 5 foes of man, and then also how those names of the lower self, those are the descriptions, the personalities of the lower self, and make those connections. And that's powerful. And that's something that, of course, every Moor should have a copy of, but that's something that people from across the board, right? Regardless of their ethnic background, they can find insight in that. We read in people, all types of people read the Kabbalah, and they don't see themselves as Jews or Hebrews or whatever. So, all types of people will find insight in that. So that's definitely, you need to write that book and put it on the websites, put it on Amazon, put it on our websites as well, right? And get that information out there. All right. It was already foretold, right? That we're gonna let the world know that there's still much to be learned from us, the so-called Negro, the one that they overlooking. Everybody's overlooking us, but you can hit them with that, and that's powerful. And also for dealing with foreign Muslims or people who subscribe to foreign customs. We know that in the Quran, Surah 1047, 14:4, and 16:36, they're all saying the same thing. That's setting the precedent for a Rasul. The Rasul is the hierarchy. There's a hierarchy of prophets. We know that the Rasul is the messenger. And that a messenger is sent to every people speaking their own language and coming from amongst the people. And all 3 of those Quranic verses say that. I'll send that to everybody. I don't know if I already did, but everybody should have that. Just save it in a little notepad on your phone. All right. Understand that, because there are people who claim to be Muslims and they don't even know this. And if you don't know, if you can't stand on who you are, there's people who are in their lower self who will try to take advantage of you. Right, Islam? I see the sister has a hand up.
Islam, I just wanted to add that, remember, when we pray, we talk to Allah, right? When we meditate, that's when God gives us the gifts of insight. That's when God talks to us. That's when Allah, the universe, everything is communicating to us and letting us know what path to go down, what we need to reach out to grab, what we need to understand. So it's very important to meditate. And when Brother Jackson Bay said this idea, this insight hit him when he was meditating, I knew right then that was his message. That's why I said I want you to demonstrate that, because that was a gift to you to bring, to use, like the Brother Davis L said. The gifts that we receive is for our lives, it's personal. But we also, once we understand what that is and use it for ourselves, it is our duty to teach our brothers and sisters.
Islam, and if you bring it to the world, you'll be blessed for that. If you write a book or something like that. And Islam, you know what? I do recommend everybody get a copy of the Kabbalion, which Brother David Sell was speaking about. That's KYBALLIAN or ION. And it's speaking on universal principles. there's 7 main universal principles that are just, well, they're universal, right? And when you put work in on mastering these, you're supposed to be able to eventually to transmute, or I guess you could say you could kind of sidestep some of the laws of nature and things that we have to deal with. That's not really my demo to speak about from a Moorish Science Temple of America perspective, but there's definitely wisdom and insight in there. So I suggest everybody get the Kabbalion. You can get one on Amazon probably for like under $10, and it's a short read too. It's not a big long book, and it'll give you more insight and understanding into the Holy Quran, our Quran, right? Just by reading it, going over it, meditating on that information. Islam. Okay.
I just, my bad. I don't mean to cut your wisdom. I know we trying to end it. I just yeah, I'm not a book type. I'm just trying to come up with like a direct, like straight up trying to kill, not kill, subdue the low self, whatever. But yo, I'm not too I'm humble enough to take advice from anybody in Temple 30 or whoever. So if anybody wanna like help or got a suggestion, you already know my Facebook or whatever. And if you got my number, you got my number. Just hit me up or whatever. So I just want to put the call out because it came to me, but I brought it forth with y'all. You know what I mean? So if you feel, you know what I mean, I'm not all wise because I'm only a part of Allah. You feel me? And I can only reflect a part of Allah. But when I stand with other people that reflect Allah, you feel me? Then we all get a better picture of Allah. You feel me? So, you know, I'm definitely not too big or just because I come with some bars or whatever, you feel me? I'm definitely always willing to learn because I can learn from a CEO and I can learn from a crackhead too. You feel me? So with that, Islam.
Islam and gratitude, brother. Gratitude. Um, so maybe you should ask that question again in the chat. Just if anybody wants to collaborate with you on putting that information together, right? But you know what? Just to close out, really, this is what I take from chapter 48, right? The prophet he's given us the purpose, the meaning of the Moorish Science Temple of America. We're returning these ways that didn't work for us, the European ways, back, right? We do the purpose is stated clearly. We do not desire to amalgamate or marry into the pale skinned nations of Europe. We know that amalgamating that was being fully absorbed into the cultural traditions, and the customs of people. We're not doing any of that anymore. We're making the exodus. We're coming into our own, right? We're coming into our own covenant, our divine covenant, Islam. And this is powerful. So that's wrapping things up. This is how we fulfill the prophecies. And this is the book of the 7 seals. This is the last prophet in these days and times, right? On that note, I want to go ahead and close out. Does anybody have any other questions, though, whether they're related to this chapter or not? All right. One announcement without further ado, we're going to go into the closing of the meeting. Brother Seymour Bay, would you please read the divine warning?
Islam, Sheikh. First, I rise and give praise to the Most High, Father God Allah. I give honors to His holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, to the forerunner to the prophet, the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, to all the members of the Grand Body Moorish Science Temple of America, and all you faithfuls on the call. Islam. A divine warning by the prophet for the nation. The citizens of all free national governments, according to the national constitution, are all of one family bearing one free national name. Those who fail to recognize the free national name of their constitutional government are classed as undesirables and are subject to all inferior names and abuses and mistreatments that the citizens care to bestow upon them. And it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the names and principles that delude to slavery. I, the prophet, was prepared by the great God Allah to warn my people to repent from their sinful ways and go back to that state of mind to their forefathers' divine and national principles, that they will be law abiders and receive their divine right as citizens according to the free national constitution that was prepared for all free national beings. They are to claim their own free national name and religion. There is but one issue for them to be recognized by this government and of the earth, and it comes only through the connection of the Moorish divine national movement, which is incorporated in this government and recognized by all other nations of the world. And through it, they and their children can receive their divine rights unmolested by other citizens, that they can cast the free national ballot at the polls under the free national constitution of the state's government and not under a granted privilege, as has been the existing condition for many generations. You who doubt whether I, the prophet, and my principles are right for the redemption of my people, go to those that know law in the city hall and among the officials in your government and ask them under an intelligent tone, and they will be glad to render you a favorable reply, for they are glad to see me bring you out of darkness into light. Money doesn't make the man. It is the free national standards and power that makes a man and a nation. The wealth of all national governments, gold and silver and commerce, belong to the citizens alone, and without your national citizenship by name and principles, you have no true wealth. And I'm hereby calling on all true citizens that stand for a national free government and the enforcement of the Constitution to help me in my great missionary work, because I need all support from all true American citizens of the United States of America. Help me to save my people who have fallen from the constitutional laws of the government. I'm depending on your support to get them back to the constitutional fold again, that they will learn to love instead of hate and will live according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, supporting our free national constitution of the United States of America. I love my people, and I desire their mind, their unity and mind back to their own free national and divine standard, because day by day they have been violating the national constitutional laws of their government by claiming names and principles that are unconstitutional. If Italians, Greeks, English, Chinese, Japanese, Turks, and Arabians are forced to proclaim their free national name and religion before the national constitution, before the constitutional government of the United States of America, it is no more than right that the law should be enforced upon all other American citizens alike. In all other governments, when a man is born and raised there and asks for his national descent name, and if he fails to give it, he is misused, imprisoned, or exiled. Any group of people that fail to answer up to the constitutional standards of law by name and principles, because to be a citizen of any government, you must claim your national descent name, because they place their trust upon issue and names formed by their forefathers. The word Negro deludes in the Latin language to the word nigger, the same as the word colored deludes to anything that is painted, varnished, and dyed. And every nation must bear a national descent name of their forefathers, because honoring thy fathers and thy mothers, your days will be lengthened upon this earth. These names have never been recognized by any true American citizen of this day. Through your free national name, you are known and recognized by all nations of the earth that are recognized by said national government in which they live. The 14th and 15th Amendments brought the North and the South in unity, placing the Southerners, who were at that time without power, with the constitutional body of power. And at that time, 1865, the free national constitutional law that was enforced since 1774 declared all men equal and free. And if all men are declared by the free national constitution to be free and equal, since that constitution has never been changed, there is no need for the application of the 14th and 15th Amendments for the salvation of our people and citizens. So there isn't but one supreme issue for my people to use to redeem that which was lost, and that is through the above statements. Then the lion and the lamb can lie down together in yonder hills, and neither will be harmed, because love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice will be reigning in this land. In those days, the United States will be one of the greatest civilized and prosperous governments of the world. But if the above principles are not carried out by the citizens and my people in this government, the worst is yet to come, because the great God of the universe is not pleased with the works that are being performed in North America by my people. And this great sin must be removed from the land to save it from enormous earthquakes, diseases, etc. And I, the prophet, do herein believe that this administration of the government, being more wisely prepared by more genius citizens that believe in their free national constitution and laws, and through the help of such classes of citizens, I, the prophet, truly believe that my people will find the true and divine way of their forefathers and learn to stop serving carnal customs and merely ideas of man that have never done them any good, but have always harmed them. And so I, the prophet, am hereby calling aloud with a divine plea to all true American citizens to help me to remove this great sin which has been committed and is being practiced by my people in the United States of America, because they know it is not the true and divine way, and without understanding, they have fallen from the true light into utter darkness of sin. And there is not a nation on earth today that will recognize them socially, religiously, politically, or economically, etc., in their present condition of their endeavorment in which they themselves try to force upon a civilized world. They will not refrain from their sinful ways of action, and their deeds have brought Jim Crowism, segregation, and everything that brings harm to human beings on earth. And they have fought the Southerner for all these great misuses, but I have traveled in the South, and I have examined the conditions there, and it is the works of my people continuously practicing the things which bring dishonor, disgrace, and disrespect to any nation that lives the life. And I am hereby calling on all true American citizens for moral support and finance to help me in my great missionary work to bring my people out of darkness into marvelous light. From the prophet, Islam, Islam, Islamism. Happy Holy Day, Muslims.
Gratitude, brother. All right, Islamism. Hang on 1 second. Additional laws for the Moorish Americans by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Act 1, Grand Sheikhs and governors and heads of all temples, all businesses. Each said temple must be approved by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali before acting upon by any members, let it be finance, property, or any line of life that will cause the members to sacrifice finances, etc., that will cause the support of any group of members. Any former officer that violates these laws is subject to be removed from his office under a heavy restriction, etc., by the prophet or the Grand Sheikh. Act 2, all members are to attend their ADUP meetings and their public meetings promptly. If a member is found standing around on their meeting period, shall be fined 50 cents on the first case, and on the second, he will be fined $1, which will go on your emergency fund. If member is working, his monthly dues must be paid, and if he has money in the bank, he must subscribe for as much as he is able to the Moorish Uplifting Fund, because it takes finance to uplift the nation. Act 3, it is the lawful and divine duty of every good member, if he is able in finance, to aid me in saving the nation, and if he does not, he is an enemy to the cause of uplifting his own people, and justice must catch you. Let it be he or she according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, as I have the power invested in my hands, and I will have to enforce the law in order to save the nation. Act 4, all members, while up making a public speech, must not use any assertion against the American flag or speak radical against the church or any member of any organized group, because we are to teach love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Act 5, all members must promptly attend their meetings and send their children to Sunday school, and the teacher must conform himself to the questionnaire, and let every member exercise his 5 senses who is able to do so, because out from your Sunday school comes the guiders of the nation. Act 6, with us all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, Black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7, all members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his father, God Allah. Our one question, what day are we meeting physically?
Sunday, 28, 1:30.
Okay. 1:30? Okay, so we do plan to physically meet this Sunday, the 28th, at the Newark, I think it's called Newark Earthworks. They have the mounds and the different earth structures. They have like walls and things like that, of that nature, out there in Newark, Ohio. I think it's like an hour from Columbus. We plan on doing that 1:30 on the 28th. Oh yeah, and we asked that everybody brings a dish. We'll put together a flyer. So that's on the, I guess, the last Sunday of the month. Islam. Oh yeah, one more thing. If you haven't done the e-registration, make sure you do it. Probably won't have your acceptance letter yet. If you just do it now, maybe I can get it before then. But for everybody else, for the people who's joined recently or who did the e-registration, I have your acceptance letter. That's something that the temple's doing now for everybody that joins. It's got a seal on it, and we have that for everybody who did it. Also for the new members, we have everybody's nationality card, and I don't have all of your items, but I do have that stuff. So if we didn't give it to you already, we will have it for you at our meeting. I guess the brother Thomas, but I'm gonna need to get that out to you in the mail.
Islam.
All right, Islam. So that's it. We're gonna go ahead and close. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Please rise and face the east for the closing prayer. Allah, bind our hearts and minds back to our ancient forefathers, divine creed and principles. We ask this in our holy name and the seven Elohim. Amen. Islam, Islamism. This meeting is now adjourned. Peace and love. Happy Holy Day, Moors.
Happy holiday.
Peace and love. Happy holiday.
Peace and love.
Happy holiday.
Happy Holy Day.
Love, happy holiday.